Good morning and welcome to the Elevate Renatus team call. This is your host, Keely Austin. Today is December 1st. It's Takeoff Tuesday. Grateful to be with you. Grateful to be here with you today. Our quote of the day today is, "Action is the foundational key to all success." Make sure that you've marked your calendar for our national conference. It's coming up in March. We have 3 full days of training, the 18th through the 20th. Clear out those days on your calendar. Make sure that you can be 100% present during those 3 days of training. Absolutely crucial that you're there to learn about what's going on with Renatus, what Bob Snyder, our CEO, has planned for us, and lots of phenomenal training from our leadership from around the nation. So make sure that you're at our national conference. We also have our dates for Leaders Retreat, August 13th through the 17th, 2021. Cross your fingers, if all goes well, we'll all be together in Mexico. I'm really excited to see you all there. We have our Founders Live every Monday at 4 p.m. Yesterday, it was awesome. We got to hear from our coach, Gavin McCaleb, and it's always fun to see who's rocking it in their businesses as far as the top 10 goes. So make sure that you're tuning into the Founders Live every Monday at 4 p.m. on Facebook. Every week we have a private capital masterclass. That's every Thursday at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. That's for AIT students only to bring your questions and thoughts from the private capital classes. And we're getting help on how to take that class and put it into action. We also have our daily real estate action mastermind. This is every morning, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 9:45 Mountain Time, where we discuss all things real estate investing. We also have our Fabulous Friday morning with Lily. Make sure you're tuning in on Fridays with us to get a training from Lily Protas, who has created a lot of success through this program. And then we also have our Zoom up calls every day, Monday through Friday at noon. Those are just 15 minutes. They're short and sweet, but very powerful. Make sure that you're getting your guests in front of these Zoom up calls. They're designed to talk about the success stories from Renatus. Those are all recorded. You can find them on our YouTube channel. So if you don't catch the live at noon, then you can always tune into the recordings and send that recording over to your guest as well. Make sure, of course, you are registered in Helios. You definitely want to get that protection for yourself and for your guest. If you haven't already, check out oyesoes.com. There's a short 6-minute video there that talks all about what the optional event subscription is and why it's important to be a part of that. Every Wednesday, we do a house tour. Last week, we did it on Tuesday because of Thanksgiving. And we toured Wanda Carrasquillo's home. This was a property she picked up while in Puerto Rico. She had a team member in Utah call her because they found a great property. And in just 3 days, she was able to close on that and flew from Puerto Rico to Utah to get the deal going. So that's really, really exciting. The purchase price, $190,000, rehab $40,000, and the ARV on that is $325,000. So Wanda is looking at a potential net profit of $56,000 using none of her own money or really any time to go into the deal, which is incredible. Congratulations, Wanda. Here's a quick snapshot of our weekly reoccurring events. If you'd like to take a screenshot, I'll give you just a second to do so, and then I go through each of these really quickly. Make sure, of course, you register in Helios, and then how to access these events. You will go to teamelevateusa.com, and if you haven't checked out that website yet, make sure you do so. So every Tuesday at 12:30 Mountain Time, we have our Profits Intro. Every Wednesday, we have a house tour offered in English. And then at the same time at 7 p.m., we also have an AIT bonus track study group that's offered in Spanish. Every Thursday, we've got all of these events to choose from. So we have so much support. I'm very, very grateful for that. We get to pick and choose what's best suited for our goals. So Thursday at 7 p.m., we've got our house tour in Spanish, Pillars of Wealth, follow-up and funding webinar, onboarding, essentials, business development. We've got study groups on real estate investing, multifamily wholesaling, and short-term rental. We do record these morning calls. You can find them on both Facebook as well as on our YouTube channel. We have the Facebook page called Renatus Team Elevate. You want to definitely be a part of that. There's a lot of important announcements there. And of course, like I mentioned, you can catch these recordings there. And the YouTube channel is where you can find these recordings as well as the Zoom up calls. So just type in Elevate Renatus on youtube.com and subscribe to the channel. And that way you can take advantage of all the recordings posted there. And today we get to learn from the wonderful Bill Predebon. Bill has been an amazing individual that I've gotten to know over the last about 5 years now that I've been with Renatus. coming up in April, actually. So about 4.5 years. And Bill has taken this education and has done incredible things with it. You know, if you know Bill's story, which I'll go into in just a minute here, he was able to pull himself out of a pretty deep hole, and everything that he learned was from our education and from the systems that we have in place. So before Renatus, Bill was a pro skier in Vail, Colorado. He was doing that for quite some time and realized he was not really qualified to do much else, and he should start looking at other income opportunities. He learned about franchises. He bought a couple of stores, owned a few stores for a little while, and due to lack of knowledge, he ended up losing everything. In 2007, he learned about real estate investing, and without getting any education, he dove in and attempted to get into real estate investing on his own. And that's when he ended up in over $400,000 in debt during the 2008 crash. Next is when Bill found Renatus. And like I mentioned, Renatus was able to really pull him out of that hole. In his first year, he made 8 times more than he did the previous year as both a loan officer and a realtor. And ever since, Bill has done over 150 transactions. He has grossed multiple 7 figures in real estate investing. And I know he's having a really nice month this month with selling a couple of his assets. And also on the marketing side, Bill is killing it. He's on the PIT team, meaning he's in training to be on the PAC, the President's Advisory Council. So he's helping a lot of people get started, and a lot of them are here taking action. So I'm really excited to hear what Bill has to share with us this morning. Good morning, Bill. How are you?
Hey, Keely. What's up? Good morning.
Hey there.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for that awesome intro. Thanks for all the announcements and getting everybody squared away with what we got going on. Folks, everybody can do their part, and it's so funny. We know that by heart, but I just took a bunch of pictures of it, and I'm going to put it on my Facebook group for my team so that they have access to it all the time, the more access they can have. So share that information with some of the folks that you guys know on your teams or in your communities that, you know, perhaps have not been around for a while. The more people we can get involved and in the meetings and on the Zooms, the better, right, for everybody. So thanks for sharing that information, Keely. It keeps us at our fingertips, so it's really easy for us to remember. And thanks for doing everything you do. Congratulations on your new family member. That was pretty exciting. Yeah, nice little addition there. And cool. All right. Well, it's Tuesday morning, folks. Here we go. I'm going to type in 760-533-3141. 760-533-3141. That's my cell number if you guys need to reach out to me or want to reach out to me. As always, I always say, if I haven't gotten back to you for whatever reason right away, if it's urgent, especially, hit me up twice. And if I haven't got back to you within 24 hours, hit me up again, leave a message or shoot me another text because it gets buried. All right. So if I remember correctly, Keely, do you remember, were we going to talk about follow-up or do you remember? I think we were going to talk a little bit about follow-up. We were talking about the...
I wrote it down. Let me see if I can find it, but I think you're right. It was follow-up from after an intensive, maybe? I don't know.
And we did that last week, and then Michael was working yesterday on leads. So we've got the end of the year. Michael went over a lot of that information. You guys know that we've got December 17th is the last day you can get signatures verified, right? Place the order, get signatures verified, and then you've got to fund that by the end of the month in order to get paid on, I don't have the date in front of me, that last Tuesday or Friday of the month. So Michael did a great job, of course, of covering that information yesterday, and then went into some LinkedIn training, lead source, and multiple lead sources. But one of the things that I was talking about is because I was following up with one of my team members, and he's just struggling with the process. Like, he's 5-star qualified, and he and it's like, we know what to do and we have an idea, but it's not like it's not systematic, right? It's not something we do all the time. So So we got on a three-way call, on a follow-up call, and it was a little out of place because he knew the guy had watched the information, but the guy wasn't really ready for a follow-up and didn't have all the information about the combo and the packages and the offerings and really the opportunity, right? I call it an opportunity. And the opportunity, in my opinion, with Renatus embraces a lot of options. Typically, it's not the marketing option up front, so I'm not confusing someone with the marketing, but I'm talking about the different options with Renatus, right? A lot of people, when they first see Renatus, they're not even sure necessarily that they don't need to invest money with the group, right? They might even think that they've got to have money to get in on a deal, and that's not even it, right? You guys know this. So I guess my point is that it's important that people watch the 70-minute, but when they're watching it outside of a live event, and even when it is in a live event, and when I say live event, I mean a live Zoom, right? We can't monitor what they're doing. When it was live and we were in person, the people came in the room and most of the time they didn't leave. If they left because they didn't like it or whatever reason, they're not ready for it. And then if otherwise they might have gone to the bathroom and took a quick break or came in late, right? And then we knew that they missed, right? We're like, my guest left right when he was going over the pricing, or my guest missed the first 15 minutes of Bill's story or whatever it was. And we know. So we know how to handle a call. So in a follow-up in today's world, we don't know. So how can we tell where they're at, right? We have to write it down, right? You have to write it down. I just read that. Wow, my brain has not had enough coffee. We have to ask questions. We have to get on the phone with them and on a Zoom and really ask them about the presentation, right? Hey, so are you familiar with when I ask somebody, what did you like best about last night's or the presentation or the 70-minute overview? What did you like best about the Renatus opportunity? When I ask that question, naturally I'm doing it because they can't say anything negative, because I'm asking what they liked about it, not what did you think, right? Well, it was kind of long, so we didn't ask that question, right? But I'm also asking because I want to know what they're interested in, what they got out of it, right? If they're like, all of it, yeah, it's just really good, right? I can tell that maybe they didn't quite grasp it all, or most likely they were preoccupied watching the video, right? And so we've got to know that, because then I can't have a follow-up closing conversation with somebody who has no idea what I'm talking about, because I have to ask, I had a follow-up the other day with one of our guys that just enrolled in the advanced epics combo. I don't even know if that's a thing. So it's whatever. And so it was interesting because he reached out after 2 years. In fact, it might have been a little bit longer, right? And this is a guy in Pittsburgh. And folks, there's a reason that the top income earners have been around a while, right? Because it takes a little time. This is a business. The coolest thing about this for everybody here that's been 1, 2, 3 years, 2 weeks, whatever it is that like you already put in the legwork. Like you've already created what I call the tsunami. You've already created the momentum, right? And so you might not have the results, but as things start to come and you make a quick sale here and there, all of a sudden you're going to get callbacks. You're going to get people, whether you followed up with them or not. Jim did not follow up with this individual. And life changes all the time, over time. But relatively speaking, even if you look at Michael's journey, or Scott and Nancy Rowe's journey for that matter, James Lease, Richard Stock, Jeff Thompson, Charles Isaiah, Gary Lawrence, even Zach and Sumari, and look at the distance between you and them, right? Between us and them, or you and me. And it is significant. We're talking about a decade of work. But when people think of that, don't let me get too far off track here. When people think of that, it seems like a long time to create a business and get results in a business. And I'm not talking about just results. I'm talking about $1 million results, right? Or multiple 6-figure results. But we resign to a 40 or 50-year business, which would be our job or our life career path, right? And that's okay. That's okay to save 3 or 4 or 500,000, maybe $1 million if we're lucky on a 50-year plan, but we're not okay with a 10-year plan, right? So we've got to be okay with this, that it's a little bit of a journey. And so in this process, you're going to have sales that are going to come through. So go back to this follow-up. So there's 2 follow-ups I'm talking about. One, not so good, one good, right? Immediately when I got on the phone with Christian, and he had Facebooked or messaged Jim and said, hey, are you still teaching that education thing? I'm kind of interested what you got going on, and was checking in, what kind of thing. So we immediately get on the phone with him as fast as we could. And we talked a little bit about what he's doing. You guys know, building the rapport, but it was pretty specific, asking questions. But first of all, I asked him about the opportunity with Renatus. And one of the intriguing things that Jim said in his message back to get him on the 3-way call was, Renatus, we've enhanced the program. We've changed the program. There's great opportunities in the program that are new. It's something to that effect. I can go back and read it for you. But the point is, there was a little tiny hook. The guy was already coming back to us, but there was a little hook to get him on the phone, right? Hey, by the way, looking forward to sharing some new information about Renatus and the opportunity, right? So then the guy was like, hey, I'm kind of interested in what new things you've got going on, right? And honestly, there's nothing really that much new, right? And so one of them was the billing opportunity, right, that we were talking about, and one of them was the Profits Education course. But he's really interested in the real estate anyway. And so far. And so in my conversation with him, though, I asked him, what about the Renatus opportunity was he really interested in? And you could tell there's a disconnect. He hasn't seen a video in 2 years. And I knew this, right? I assumed this, right? And we went through a little bit. So and this can even be someone that it's been a month, right? And we'll get to everyday follow-ups as well, right? The people that are in the pipeline. So I absolutely I edified Michael. I edified the presentation. I offered him the one between me or Michael, and set down a time when he could watch the 70-minute presentation and when we would follow up. And so this is the thing that one thing you got to keep in mind. I was thinking about this morning, is that when the right person sees the information, it's not twisting arms. So what happened was, we sent it to him on Friday, and by Saturday I had a text from Jim again that he was super ready to get started, and he's got a few questions. So he had already watched it, and instead of waiting for our 4:00 follow-up on Monday that we had set, right, book a meeting from a meeting, I booked a meeting for him to watch the video, then set him up to get on on a follow-up call on Monday. He was ready to go. So we ended up doing an audible, and I can't remember I think we followed up on Saturday, if I remember correctly. And then I was asking pertinent questions about the follow-up leading to the asking for the order. And it was about the questions about Renatus and the education. And he's like, obviously it's good education, blah, 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 blah. I like what I saw, whatever he said. But his question to me was, when it comes to being different, it's like, you can get programs all over the place. What have you done? Like, what is it that you get differently that you don't get in another program? Like, what's the mentorship is the word he used, maybe, right? And so immediately I want to answer the question. And I want to say, you know, this is it, right? This is the difference. And I want to tell them the answer. But instead, I paused for a minute, right? And I said, well, what type of mentorship are you looking for, right? What do you imagine there should be when you buy a program, right? So whatever it was that he was going to tell me is exactly what I was going to cater to my answer, right? Right. So he's already given me the answer that I want to be able to tell him. But instead of me just assuming what it is that he's thinking me just assuming what I need to say to sell him. Does that make sense? So by asking him, hey, well, what do you mean by mentorship? And what do you think what kind of mentorship should go with the program? And that sort of thing. Like immediately he was talking, right? I might have thought about a before and after program, but he was actually talking about a little bit of the coaching calls, right? And then we were able to elaborate and go into some of all of the new things that we've added on what we would call our before and after, our community events, all the things that Keely just went over, the dream call, right? The Thursday night study groups, right? My own personal team, I call it an uncut, real deal call that I do on real estate training for my team. These kinds of things we've added in, right? So he was like, perfect. That's the hand holding I'm looking for. And this guy's in another state, right? And so then I could clearly go to, hey, so have you thought about what package you want to enroll in? I'm assuming you want, right? I'm assuming you want to get the full combo. But I know you mentioned you don't want to go into debt. What are you thinking? And he really liked the idea of a billing program. I'm not really sure why he wants to pay more, but he didn't want to put anything on a credit card. And this is one case where he was pretty confident on how he wanted to fund, that he wanted to put, I can't remember what he put down, but I want to say that he put half down and then he wanted a monthly billing plan, right? And so we just had to figure out if I could close him at the full combo or if he was going to be stuck at the advanced to begin with. So he ended up with the advanced. So that was a little bit of a follow-up that literally, you guys, from the message on, like, it might have been Friday morning or Thursday. And I'm like, actually, I can tell you, because I just texted Jim last night about it to follow up with him. And yeah, you guys, the message was Friday. So we were on a call Friday afternoon, sent him the video Friday night, watched it Friday and Saturday, followed up with him Saturday and placed his order, right? Took 2 years to do it in 30 seconds, right? But when the right person's in front of the information, there's not a lot of decision. When this process isn't, now there still were three touches right there, right? Technically there's 4. 2 years ago, right? I met the guy, and then there was a follow-up call, another Epic's presentation, and then a follow-up asking for the order and placing the order. So there were 4 touches. It just happened in a 24-hour period over 2 years, right? So these rules kind of do apply, right? I couldn't just close him on Friday on the first call after 2 years of him not knowing anything about anything. Like, he was ready to spend the money. So my point is a couple of things. One is the right person is not going to give you a hard time, needs clarity, needs information, needs to know there's some reassurance, needs to understand the options. And that's where the follow-up is. And then they need someone to ask for the order, right? They need someone to tell them in which direction you want to go, and that sort of thing. So if there's any questions on any of these things that I'm telling you they need to know, then let me know specifically if there's something you want me to like hone in on. I also forgot to ask, it's 8:30. I forgot to ask if anybody has anything that you're working on that has nothing to do with what the hell I'm talking about, which is fine with me, then shout it out. Like, put it in the chat, come off mute, just come on out, and we will address your concern and your business and your prospects and your issues. Issues not probably the right word, but your business and what you're working on and what you're working through. We'll discuss that and we'll go off on a tangent. In the meantime, I wanted to talk about the follow-up and the disconnect. If you're getting leads from LinkedIn, right? Facebook groups, last night's story of the week, they talked a lot about cold market turning to warm market, how they're talking to one person a day, 7 people a week, 28 people a month. That's how they're having their on fire success. Like, we love that story. You know, here's a couple people from South Africa that, was it South Africa or Africa?
East.
Where was it?
East Africa. Was it
East Africa? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they come to this country and, you know, they find this opportunity and they grab it by the horns because it's, you know, it's pretty rare what we have, right? So they're just ignorance on fire. And you could be ignorant on fire whether you've been around this company 3 years, 10 years, or 3 days. You can just be on fire based on your excitement, renewed excitement, encouraged excitement about the company and the opportunity, right? And that's what they are. They're just excited about what they're experiencing. It's something new and fresh, right? So if we're doing these lead generation things and we know, right, got to get them to a property tour, got to get them to a intro. But if you don't have your flow chart, and I mean, I know that you know it. I know that there's a follow-up and then you can put them on Thursday night and then you can get them to the intensive. And I know that you know that there are these things that you're going to do, right? And then you're going to do a follow-up call with them. And it doesn't, even for me, as many times as I've done it, which is not as many times as many other people, right? It's still, everyone is new and different, okay? But it's always the same. I have a purpose on the phone, right? I have a desired outcome on the follow-up call. And then I know what I'm going to do with them based on the outcome of that call, right? So what I'm getting at is when someone sees the presentation, I don't need to worry about them seeing a property tour. I don't need to worry about them seeing an intensive. I don't need to worry about them doing anything else but getting more information and any questions answered from the presentation, right? And I want to value and judge their level of interest after they've seen the presentation and have been exposed to a $23,000 sticker price, right? That is the goal of my first follow-up call, right? As well as to ask for the order and to figure out where they would get started if money wasn't an issue, right? Like, that's it. Those are the things that immediately, so I know that when I have somebody that goes to any event, and I don't care which event they go to first, that is going to be my next event. My next event is not, let's do the follow-up or let's do the intro and then do a Super Saturday and then do a follow-up on Monday. It's let's do an intro, then a follow-up, then I've got the Super Saturday or the property tour the next day if I need it, right? Naturally, people are not going to typically watch the presentation and sign up immediately, right? They're going to get a follow-up call, and then they're going to have some questions. So in between there, if there's an event, I'm going to put them in there. Why? It's just going to enhance their belief, right? They're just going to get more and more relationship attachment to the opportunity, right? They're going to get the community and they're going to get more information, and it's just going to build them up. I'm only filling the gap, right? That's all I'm doing by putting them in another event. They're not learning much new, right? Necessarily, but they've already told me where they're at interest-wise. Okay, so on my follow-up call, my first initial follow-up call, no matter what it is. So in the flow chart wise, you guys, in my flow chart, I know that it's a meeting, whatever meeting is. Now, this meeting does have to have a couple of elements, right? it has to have the different education packages, and it has to have the pricing, right? It has to have an exposure to all of the things that we offer: velocity banking, right? Tax and legal, education, real estate, and community. And then how much does it cost to have all those things? There you go, right? Now they're not going to take pictures and slide snapshots and screenshots of all this stuff. So they're not going to remember it. They're not freaking writing it down. So I've got to know it in my head. You guys, I know every class in every package, how much it costs, what it costs in billing, right? I know how to put the packages together. I know when you get the coaching calls, when the coaching calls are, how to obtain the coaching calls, and I never even got the coaching, right? So I know these things, so I can tell them what it is they're going to get for this amount of money, because that comes up all the time with me, you guys. It comes up all the time on what they're getting, right? When we're shopping for a car, like, well, does this have power steering? You know what I mean? They're even telling us the basics. You think anybody reads that stupid sheet that's 50 miles long? No, we skip over all the standard features. We skip over all the added features, and we go right to the price. And then we go, it's all right there. And then we look at the sales guy and we go, does it have power steering? Does this have a V6? Because we don't want to read the stupid thing. We want someone to tell us, because it's the easier, natural, lazy way to do things. So I need to be able to, if I'm selling somebody on my education, I better be able to tell them what the heck he gets or she gets for the price that they're paying. And then I want to give them the options. Oh yeah, you can upgrade to this. Oh, that's an added feature. We don't throw that in, right? I was buying some golf clubs for my wife yesterday, and I'm like, where's the head cover? And it's like, oh, that's extra. They're $10. I'm like, well, you can throw that in, right? You know what I mean? Like, you know, I must have asked him if that's the best he could do, like 4 different times on these clubs I was buying. I was buying different. I already had some irons for her, but we sold her set when we moved, and then I buy her new set because we were getting golfing together. And anyway, so I was upgrading her golf clubs, and then there was a tool, right? I'm getting these adjustable loft woods, you know, the technology in today's woods, right? So I got her these nice woods, and there you can actually adjust the loft on them now. And so I needed the tool, and he's like, well, the tool's $2.99. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm not buying them. Like, putting that. But the point is the salesperson knew. He's like, oh, yeah, I didn't know you needed a tool. You know, then I might have bought the clubs without the tool, right? Or I might not have paid the $2.99 for the tool. Actually, I did get him to throw in the tool and the head cover, by the way. So, you guys get my point. Is you've got to know your product, and you've got to know your offering. You've got to know the back of your hand. So regardless of that, that's not what this is about. This is about the follow-up. So I'm talking to my buddy. He's a good friend of mine on my team. He's 5-star qualified. You know, we've probably done, during the day, when Craigslist was available, he got 5-star through Craigslist ads on Craigslist job sites, which we can't do anymore, as you guys know. And we went through a lot of people. We probably had, 50 follow-ups, I would say, before he got 5-star at least. He probably had 100 people in the meeting at least. Do I have a flow chart I can share? So I've never made a flow chart. Keely, do you want to make one and write it down? You want me to try to write it on a shared screen right now? Or I could talk it out and I don't have one. Is the answer to that question. It's up here, unfortunately.
I guarantee we could find one in like a presentation in Helios, like pull up some of those PowerPoints. There's probably some type of flow chart in one of those. So it would take some time to find it, but I bet you if you could find one in Helios, if you looked at some of those PowerPoints, maybe like the follow-up, I don't know. It wouldn't be in the intro or in the follow-up.
I've seen it on some trainings with Dane.
Super Day training. So
here's what I got, Jeff, and I appreciate the question. So here's my thought, you guys. Each person is different, and my flow chart is simply this. Well, let's go through it. number one is, and I'm not talking about, the flow chart starts with the lead generation. So you guys get that part, right? Michael went over LinkedIn yesterday. If you didn't see that training, go get the training. LinkedIn's a very powerful place right now. Facebook groups, we've had super Saturdays on Facebook groups. You guys get the point. Facebook posts, personally, enhancing your Facebook posts, whatever it is you're doing for lead gen, right? Once you get the intrigue and you have the initial call, you've invited them to a meeting. You're either like last night. So I got a new phone. I got a new Note 20. I don't have it here yet. Note 20 Ultra G. It's a pretty badass phone, right? So I got it on Black Friday and I met the guy at the Verizon store and started talking real estate, right? So my lead gen was 3-foot rule, sent him the video last night, specifically asked when he's going to watch it. And that starts my flow chart, right? Is getting him to a meeting. Now, honestly, last week I went in on a Wednesday and he told me to wait till Black Friday. And so I did. I went in on Black Friday. I forgot to even invite him last Thursday night. I just didn't do it. So the next best thing is I didn't want to wait till this Thursday. Now, if he doesn't follow up with me today and watch the video, I'll invite him to Thursday live, right? So number one is understand your calendar, right? I know my calendar by the back of the hand. My team asked me the other day on my training call a couple of weeks ago to put up the entire, they want to know the events. Like I personally put out the events to my team on a group text that I have, over 70 people on my group text, and I send it out and then they get it, but they forget, right? They're live, just like you, all of our lives are busy, right? And so all of a sudden this thing pops up and they're like, damn it, I wish I knew ahead of time. If you're in this business, which a lot of people are not, they're not in this business the way I am. So it's acceptable. It's understandable that I wish that I knew ahead of time. Well, I know ahead of time, right? Because I'm in this business. This is what I do for a living. So a lot of new people aren't in this, or even if they're not new and you're not new and you have a busy schedule, and this is a tiny side hustle for you at this point, then you might not remember all these things. So somewhere at some point, you've got to know the calendar of events. So I know my calendar. So I didn't want to wait till Thursday, right? I sent him the latest recording of Michael's presentation that I have on hand. And so, Conrad, which video did you send him initially? Nope, I didn't send the BIF. I got to be honest with you. I have sent the BIF. I usually send the BIF to warm market, right? One of the things I haven't done is I haven't watched the entire BIF. And so I really don't know why. I don't think we should send stuff that we haven't watched. If you haven't seen something, I don't recommend sending it. There was a recording of a video I did that I hadn't seen because I didn't send it out, but someone asked it for me. And it was a presentation I did. And it was recording before we even got started. And I swore like 3 times in front of the recording. And I sent it over to my friend, one of my team members, and they sent it to their guest. And it like literally offended the people. I can't blame them. I was sitting there like in front of the camera swearing before we got started. Typical me. So my bad, I should have watched it, but I didn't even watch it. But my team members sent the video out before watching it. So watch what you send out first. So I haven't sent out the BIF that much because I haven't watched it all the way through, number one. And I usually keep it to warm market because it's a 3-step process. When I have a conversation with this guy, like I did, Gabriel, the first video I'm going to send him is the actual intro. So the video I sent him was the intro. It wasn't a recorded property tour or anything like that. It's simply the intro, the 5 pillars. And so, okay. So that was an example of what's next. So today is a follow-up call with him. I'm going to text him and get the time as to when we're going to talk. Now in this follow-up, right, this is the flow chart. Lead generation, all up to you. As soon as I send him the video, that starts my flow chart, right? Now, since we have Zoom videos, it's possible. But if I'd have remembered on Wednesday and I would have taken the time, I should have invited him on Thursday to Thursday night's meeting. So I dropped the ball, like literally, hopefully he's still interested, but I literally didn't follow up with the guy that I just got a warm market lead, a 3-foot rule lead from, and he gave me his phone number and I didn't call him on Thursday, right? So don't do that. But otherwise I would have put him in the very first event. If there was a property tour this Saturday that my team was hosting, I would have put him in on that on Saturday. All right. It all depends on Lee. Once I have an idea on the personality, match it to a presenter. Oh, okay. I've had people that can't stand Michael, but resonated with Bob or Dane. That's funny. So we do have, yeah, I think, so that's in the back office. We have some presentations, right, that are recorded. So that, yeah, that's entirely up to you guys, how you like the video. I would do that with, for me, I would do that with like somebody I really care about that I want to make sure they're not offended. Like if it was my mom, I might not put myself in front of the presentation, right? But I might put Bob in front of the presentation for my mom. But for me, if it's a 3-foot rule or a cold work, you know, or an unknown Facebook lead or something like that, they're going to see whatever I have. You know, Michael's current, up to date. It's the most recent presentation I have. And if they're interested enough in real estate investing and they're interested in doing something about it, whether or not it's going to be with Renatus or somebody else, then they're going to appreciate the video. They might not like Michael, but that's not going to deter them from getting started. That's just the presenter. In just my opinion, Jenna, it's not, you know, I totally agree with you. So I've stopped caring to an extent about offending anybody on that level. Like I've had to more care about me personally offending them with my own language sometimes than anything else. But I just want to get them the information. And if they're going to be picky about who's presenting it, if that makes sense, then it may not be the person that I want to work with. I want to, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how they can prejudge a character, a presenter. But anyway, but it's a good point. Okay. Found a flow chart that Bob Slander made. Message me on Facebook if you want the screenshot that I took. Okay, Keely, just put that out there if you're not reading the chats. Keely Austin, our awesome host and leader, is found a flow chart that Bob Snyder has. She took a screenshot of it and she can send it to you if you message her on Facebook and ask for it. Boom. Keely, Badass Austin. There you have it. All right, so my flow chart is introduction. I don't care. Now, I do an introduction at the property tour. We do an introduction like we did at the intensive with Bob Tierney came out and did an introduction, right? So I don't care where they get the intro from. Whatever's first, right? Then my next thing is a follow-up call. My follow-up call, right, has a flow chart to it. In my brain, I know that most likely my very first follow-up call, they are not going to fund their education. They're probably not even going to open their account, right? And they're probably not going to place the order. They probably are too confused to even understand to grasp the full opportunity of Renatus. So I know that I need to do two things. One is I got to do all the clarity I need to do inside my follow-up call. So it's not a 30-minute call. It's not a 15-minute call. I'm booking at least an hour to an hour and a half with that call. It may not go that long, right? But I'm going to block off the time for it. Now, inside that call, I know that if someone is really struggling with understanding funding, then where would I send them? I would send them to the follow-up, because the follow-up video, right, either the live Thursday night follow-up or the follow-up video itself has the funding options, goes through all of the funding, right? Now, naturally, I spend my time doing this, right? I'm not you. You are not me. You may not do this well a lot, and you may not have your own funding option path. So you may not be your funding option person. you may need someone else to explain all of the funding options and go through the funding options with them. In that case, you're going to use the follow-up. Now, if somebody is like, well, I've had the follow-up with them, right? So they went to the meeting, had the follow-up, and the next call, during that call, I understand that, they're just getting started. They're kind of looking, and they're not ready to make a decision of any kind. They're kind of, they've got to, they really want their wife to see it or their husband. They're really looking forward to learning a little bit more information, whatever the reason is, right? I'm just not feeling it. They're not ready for me to, even if I've asked for the order, they're like, well, I don't know how I can afford this. I can't afford it, whatever the money excuse it's going to be, right? And then I'm like, well, let me ask you, if money wasn't an option and we could just fund this thing, would you be interested in the whole thing? I just need to know you're interested in a level. I might ask them on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm trying to feel them out, right? And if they tell me, I'm an 8, I've gone through my actual follow-up call with you guys, and so has Dane Clark and everybody. So we can do that as a different training. But whenever there's hesitation on this call, right, which typically there is, then I'm going to plug them into the next event, right? And the next event is typically for me is going to be a property tour, or it's going to be an intensive, whatever's coming up right away, right? And potentially the follow-up, potentially one of the, if you could get, we used to have the guest could get into the Velocity Banking Mastermind or something to that effect, right? But generally speaking, I'm going to get them in front of more information and do another follow-up with them, right? The only reason I'm getting them in a more in front of the information is so they can have another overview of it, right? So they can have another perspective of the opportunity and they can gather a little bit more information. Then my follow-up call, right? The fourth touch is the intro, follow-up, whatever is next, the follow-up video or a property tour or an intensive, possibly a super Saturday. That's not generally my path, but something, right? Another exposure to the community, and then a second follow-up call, right? I'm going to go to close them. So in that second follow-up call, the fourth touch, you guys, that is where I'm discussing funding. Like I'm asking for the order. I want to know where they're going to be and how they're going to fund it, right? And I'll ask them specifically, have you thought about how you're going to fund this education? And that's a whole nother conversation. But my flow chart is this. The reason I don't have it written down is that the only reason I would plug people into more events is because they haven't made a decision. And sooner than later, I'm going to stop, and most likely sooner than later, I'm going to stop doing follow-up calls with them, 1 or 2. A follow-up call is an hour of my time. If I look at the time that I spend, I make between $500 and $1,000 an hour, right? On my actual physical work on the phone. So there's no way I'm going to do a third follow-up call, right? When they have no desire to get started or the ability to overcome at this point their money objection. So I'm going to continue to plug them in. Then I'm going to have 15-minute calls with them about different types of funding. I'm going to invite them to an event. And when their attitude changes and their interest changes and their life changes and they're telling me they're interested and ready again, then I'm going to go after it. Most of the time, they tell me they're interested right up until they see a $23,000 price tag. That is no different for me than it is for all of you, okay? So they can tell you they're interested till the cows come home. But their actions are going to speak louder than that, as you guys know. So my flow chart is very simple. Now, if I'm going through this flow chart with 5 people a week, or even 2 people a week, or even 1 person a week, then every week I've got a new opportunity to close a new person. And then the person that didn't close the week before goes back into a flow chart, or back into the system. And then I'm just texting them, hey, do you want to get on the property tour this week? It's your 13th one, but you're welcome to it, right? Until something changes where I follow up and I might go like this guy, JT, right? And I go, hey, and I sent him a text about, did I deliver, something intriguing, something different? Did I deliver the message? I feel like I failed you in my ability to share with you the opportunity with Renatus. All good, brother. I'm super excited about this opportunity. I'm just not ready. I'm super busy. I didn't know if I could put another thing on my plate, but next week I'm willing to sit down and talk to you about it. Right. So I'm not having a 90-minute conversation with JT because I've already had 2 of them. I've already sat down with coffee for 90 minutes and gone over it with him. I didn't close him. So I'm not going to have another 90-minute call until he gets into the flow chart again and re-engages and said, hey, can you sit down and talk about me getting started? That's when I'm going to have another 90-minute conversation with him, if that makes sense. So that's why my flow chart is simply 2 things. That's it. It may be 3. It's an intro, a follow-up, a property tour, and/or an intensive with another follow-up. And at that point, they're going on a relatively aggressive drip. And my drip is personal. I personally do the drip via text, not email, and/or phone call when something else is coming up. And I remember to look at my board and go, oh, I should ask JT to go to an event, right? Otherwise, I'm working with new leads. And that's it. So I'll wrap this up with the follow-up here with my buddy, Raphael. When we are unsure of your desired outcome of your phone call and where they're going to go in the path, and it doesn't have to be as simple as mine. It can be, you can make sure you get them in front of 3 touches or 2 touches before you do a nice long follow-up with your 5-star, whatever you want to do. If you're unsure of what this looks like and what the follow-up call is going to entail and how long it's going to take, just because you haven't done it that much, you know what I mean? You haven't done it. And even when you were doing it, when you were getting 5-star or getting 3-star or whatever it was, or the few ones that you've done them with your 5-star, and it's like riding in the passenger seat. You're really not paying attention, even though you're paying attention. You're not going to remember directions. You don't remember how to get there, right? Because you were in the passenger seat. It's okay. These things are okay. So if you're not clear, we've got to work on just getting a little more clear. We've got to test run, right? The scripts and all these trainings, that's test driving the one-on-one follow-up, because you need to know. When I got on the phone with Raphael, and it had been a while, the guy was so unclear. It was clear that he hadn't even watched the presentation that we were on the phone call for. And the follow-up was useless, right? So you, in your process with your prospects, need to know how much of this video did they actually watch? How much were they paying? How many times did they go to the bathroom? How many times did they feed the dog? How many times did they watch SportsCenter during or watch the game while the presentation was on? These are things you're going to have to know through Q&A, through questions that you're asking them. And then you can move them forward, right? Most likely, like the guy I put through the other day with Jim out of Pittsburgh, he watched it and responded, I watched the video. I'm ready to get started. I just have a couple questions, right? So I knew where he was at. All right, I beat that up. So here we go. With this process, if you're uncertain and you have a prospect that you're working with, then either reach out to someone like myself, like Dane, like Michael, like your 5-star, like your friend in the community, and have a conversation with them first, or have them help you do it, right? Or role play it with them. Because the follow-up is simply the only way that I don't know another way for the order to place. When I was at the golf store yesterday, I reached out to a guy walking. I had to find out where the damn ladies clubs were, because there's so many clubs in the store. I didn't even know where they were. Then I had to ask some pricing questions, because the way they had it priced was really weird to me. And so I had to reach another person, right? But I went through my own clubs, figured out my own stuff, what I was going to buy, put it in a little bag that I was buying her, and got this 4 clubs that I was buying, and I walked it up to the store. And then I asked a few more questions at the register, and the guy standing there rang me in. That is not how Renatus works. They are not going to grab it, go into the back office, and a la carte the crap, put it in there, call you up and go, hey, I'm going to place a credit card. Can I use 1 or 2? And I went on, found out that I had to hit forget my password, and I got my back office going, and everything's great. I'm ready to check out. Not going to happen, right? We have to personally do it, right? That's our job. We are the coach. We coach them through the process of Renatus. We're not a mentor, we're the coach. We coach them through the system, and it's just the beginning. So if you don't understand that system, let us help you understand it. For me, it's the back of my head. It's the front of my head. It's the back of my hand. I know every single person that I'm going to talk to every single time. When you're new or you haven't done it nearly as much as me, or not even as much as Michael or Dane, it's okay. You're not wrong. You're not bad. You're not terrible. You're none of those things that you might feel. You just simply don't have the experience that we have, and that's why we're here. That's it. And it's okay, and we'll help you get through it because your people need you to help them get through it in order to place the order. That's all. All right. You guys, it's 9 o'clock. Yeah. Any questions, thoughts? Everybody okay?
Just real quick, Bill, I'd sent you a second text message so we could connect. Michael told me you would be the right person to talk to about a particular warm market I've been working with for almost a year. He inherited almost $1 million when his father passed away and is trying to like blindly walk into doing deals and is very arrogant about his level of intelligence. So working on whether he's going to enroll or whether he's just going to be a private lender. So I'd love to talk to you about that.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I've had probably half a dozen of those calls in the last 2 weeks with a new student of mine as well. So that's perfect. That would be a great call. So we can definitely connect today or tomorrow and get it, and then figure out if we'll do the 3-way call together, or I'll just coach you on it.
Okay, thanks, Bill.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for saying that. Awesome, Kim. Thanks, everybody. Keely Austin, as always, thank you for everything you do for us. Thanks for getting that flow chart, you guys. For those of you who are more intellectual than me, use a flow chart, write your own down. If you have it, screenshot it or picture it, text it to me, 760-533-3141, and I'll give you, I can analyze it for you or give you my opinion on it or whatever. But utilize it. Utilize that phone number, 760-533-3141, or anybody else's, Michael's and Dane's and everybody that's, and Wanda. You know, Wanda is got a heart of gold, and Lily Puentes. I mean, that chick's, these people, these leaders are amazing. Keely Austin, you guys know it. And so you guys got it. All right. That's the follow-up, you guys. Thank you very much. I love you guys as always.
Thank you so much, Bill.
Yeah, Bobby Johnson, great to see you. Gilda, love you, girl. Everybody, you guys are amazing.
Thanks, Bill.
Alvin, absolutely, you guys. Thank you. Mike Word, Mike White, you're awesome, brother. Dan,
thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Doug.
Love you, man.
Thank you so much, Bill.
You too, brother. You're welcome, you guys. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you guys listening to me. It's just humbling and amazing. Thank you. Have a great day. Get on the dream call. Talk to you in a bit.